the largest Funko Pop street art collection to date. Before we get into this, let's talk the Patreon. Down in the description below is a link to the Patreon where you get access to really cool things like all the stickers that I have coming out, any pins that I might make in the future, and then the Patreon only giveaway where you are only the Patreons are able to be entered into this giveaway. And in the Patreon only giveaway, we do super awesome giveaways like this guy right here. And then coming up in a few months is going to be, check this one out, I'm really excited to see this one go up in the Patreon only giveaway, is going to be this guy. So if that's something that you get into, something that you want to check out, down in the description below will be a link to that, so go check that out. It's super inexpensive to join, and it's just a really awesome way to help support the channel. So go check that out down in the description below. Today is going to be what I am calling the largest street art collection to date. Now, I haven't seen anybody else that has a collection quite as large as I do right now in the street arts. And the street arts really are a spin off of the Jim Lee collection that they came out with a year ago that really didn't do that well. And I'm starting to realize that I don't think these guys did that well. But they started the group off with Miles Morales. This was a 2020 New York convention pop. I was super excited to see these guys go out. As all of you guys know, I have an artist background, so I was super excited to see when they started making these. But then they didn't hit like I thought they would. They didn't get the energy or the excitement that I thought they would. But then we have Captain America coming in at 752 out of the group. Let me tell you the confusing part of all of this. The confusing part is there's only supposed to be 6 of these guys. So there's only supposed to be 6 in the series, and we're going to go over all 6 of these today. And this is number 752 out of the group. So I don't really understand how we went from only being 6 to them having such outrageous numbers in the group. So that's kind of the confusing part when it comes right down to it. And maybe that's why they didn't get the energy that I think that they deserved. I think that these pops are extremely underrated. And I also believe that one day they're not going to be so underrated. Coming in next, and I'm not taking these in order in which they were released. I mean, I'm just grabbing them. I started off with Miles Morales. This was the first one. These, I don't really remember exactly what order they came in, is Iron Man. Now, we all know that my Iron Man hat, what is it, the head or whatever we want to call that, does not fit on there right. I still have not fixed that. I'm going to put up in the somewhere right in here at this moment, I'm going to put a playlist of all of these guys together. So if you want to physically see these guys taken out of the box one by one, go to that playlist. That way you get the chance to watch every one of them one by one, get totally taken apart. And I do a much more like in-depth review one by one. But because I'm doing all 6 of them, we're gonna hit and run. And let's talk a little bit about Funko news at this moment. Funko news at this moment has been kind of weird. Funko's been doing some strange things that I don't really understand. Like they've been doing cease and desist orders against people that are leaking the pops. And I don't really know how you guys feel about the leaking of pops and stuff like that. I'm okay with it, but I understand why they're not okay with it. But what I don't understand is why they're not okay with it now, because it seems to me like their social media and their releases are really like wonky and not going that well. So I would almost think that they would want help from other people to promote their products. And there's some scary stuff to that. I mean, there really is. Next is Luke Cage. Now, I said I wasn't going to pick Luke Cage up when I first seen him. He's number 721 out of the group, but he is fire. Absolutely fire. Now, there's some scary stuff to cease and desist orders when they start doing stuff like that. And the scary part to a cease and desist order is, it looks like I am missing one. I can't be missing one. Who am I missing? Let's see. I got Iron Man, Luke Cage, Captain America. Which one am I missing? I am missing one. So maybe I'm missing 2? No, I'm not missing 2. I am definitely missing 1 though. Ha! I see him. Alright, so when I said that there's some scary stuff about cease and desist orders, this is what I'm saying, right? There's some scary stuff behind that, because what happens to us as content creators when they start going after other people for cease and desist orders? Does that mean that eventually they're going to come after us for cease and desist orders? Or does that mean that they're just going to go after this one person? I don't buy that they're going to just go after this one person. I think that they're going to eventually come after every one of us in some shape, way, form, or fashion if we are not careful. Because I know myself, I have talked about leaks, or what are said to be leaks, on this channel before. So does that mean at some point they're going to put a cease and desist order against me, and they're going to like sick their attorneys on me and then want me to start telling insanity, the bag of worms that can bring up. And if we're being honest, for the most part, cease and desist orders don't really work anyways. I mean, look, if we're being completely honest, most of the time they don't work anyways. But that just starts off like the list of problems that Funko has going on. Another big problem, in my opinion, is the fact that they keep upping the price of the pops. So pops went from $8 to $10 to $12 to $15 now, and I think Hot Topic just the other day charged another $2.99 for the price of already a $15 pop, in the event that you bought the pop in the pre-order for some kind of surplus charge that doesn't really make any sense, right? So they just decided to charge more money for it, which was insane. So now we're looking at like anywhere from $18 to $20 per pop. Look, insanity. At some point, collectors are going to quit paying that price, and I think that just tells us that they're in trouble. The Daredevil is really fire. Now he's 704 out of the group. Each one of these guys were themed in some way or another. Now this one was called the Hell's Kitchen, so there's a Hell's Kitchen New York. The Luke Cage was Harlem. Let's see.
2 hours later. Meanwhile,
Captain America was Brooklyn. Let's see, we're gonna go over each one of them. Iron Man was Manhattan, and Miles Morales was Brooklyn. So that means I was wrong on one of these guys. That means that, well, that one says Brooklyn too. Okay, so I guess there's 2 Brooklyn's out of the group. That's kind of confusing a little. And then last but not least is a character that I have often gotten mistaken with Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Or you could say that I've gotten Miles Morales mistaken with Spider-Man. It gets super confusing when you start going through the multiverse, and the different things that they have going on gets super confusing at that point. But Spider-Man is number 762 out of the group. He is Queens, New York, which is pretty awesome if you're asking me. Now, I've never been to New York, so I don't know a whole lot about these areas, but I do know that it's super cool that they decided that they were going to dedicate these guys to those areas in New York. Now, this is what I consider to be the complete collection of the street arts. They recently added Stan Lee to this collection, which if you remember when they first released this guy, they released him with a blacked out version of 6 different pops, and I'm gonna throw that right over here or somewhere at this point, and you'll be able to check that out for yourself. When they first released these guys, they said that they were gonna release them, and there was gonna be this many. Now I think a lot of us collectors took that there was only going to be 6 of these guys. I think now they were maybe saying that there was going to be 7, but I'm not 100% sure. But because in my mind, I think that there was only supposed to be 6 of these guys, I am only going to collect the superheroes, even though we all know that Stan Lee was a superhero all on his own, right? I mean, so I'm not going to go after the Stan Lee because I feel like this is the complete set. But it just depends on how you look at that picture. So I've looked at that picture a few different times and thought it really just depends on how I look at that picture and what I think about it. Throw a comment down below and tell me when you see this picture, what do you think? Do you think that there's only going to be 6 of these guys, or do you think that says that there's going to be 7 of these guys? I don't know. I'd love to hear your opinion. But before we get out of here, guys, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and become part of the Wayneko crew. There is no Wayneko crew without you, and I truly appreciate you watching. Until next time, have a good one. But before we get into this, guys, let's talk about my Patreon. So down in the description below will be a link to my Patreon, and in my Patreon we do super cool things like the Patreon only giveaway. So in the Patreon only giveaway, but before we get into this, let's talk the Patreon. So down in the description below. But before we get into this,